So this is my version of traveling to Tondo, which I heard first from that elderly man from Africa, heard 2 more times at the swapping ground at the National Storytelling Conference by 2 different tellers, still didn't have a name, and then in the way that you know this happens, found a book by Verna Ardema, who is a transliterationist, I think it's called. She takes oral tradition and puts it in writing, and it's a gorgeous book. So traveling to Tondo. Once upon a time, in a small hut, in a small village, in a large forest, in a country then called Zaire and now called Congo, there lived a cat, a civet cat, a wild cat, sleek and yellow with brown spots down his side and big yellow eyes. He was muscular from days of hammering copper. He was the most famous coppersmith in the entire region. His neighbors would hear him tapping, tapping, tapping on sheets of copper and copper wire, and once a month or every 2 months, he would pack up a huge basket and travel to Tondo, the market town. He would set out his wares on a blanket, and in no time, everything would be sold. Now, one morning, he went all the way to Tondo. He set out his wares, and about halfway through the day came the most beautiful female civet cat he had ever seen. His heart stopped. He was thunderstruck. She picked up bracelet and ring and earrings, and then finally said, "This one is beautiful." He summoned up his courage. He took it from her. He said, "No more beautiful than you," and gave it to her. "No, you can't pay me. No, you should wear that." Well, in time, as it happens, over months and months and months, he became completely smitten and eventually asked her father, as was the custom in those times, if he could wed her. As was also the custom in those times, he had to pay a bride price, a dowry. The bride price, the dowry, was high. As her father said, "I have given you enough of my money over the years for both my wife and all my daughters. You must fill a basket that will keep them happy till the end of time before you can marry my daughter." And so Bowane, for that was his name, went back to his little hut and began to tap, day and night until a huge basket filled with beautiful copper bowls and plates and cups and earrings and necklaces and bracelets and rings. He put the pack on his back and he set off. It would be Bowane traveling to Tondo alone for his wedding. But a man cannot go to his wedding alone, and so he came to a tree almost at the edge of the village. "Mbenga! Mbenga, are you there?" Mbenga, the pigeon, fluttered to the ground. "Bowane, I see you are going to market." "No, not just to market. I am going to be married, and a man needs his friends. Will you come to Tondo with me to marry the most beautiful girl I have ever seen?" Mbenga said, "Of course I will come with you. That's what friends are for." For those of you in the audience, that's what you can say, even though we can't hear you. And so they set off. It was Bowane and Mbenga, the 2 of them, traveling to Tondo. Well, in a little while, they came to a huge hole in the ground right beneath a huge tree. And Bowane put his pack down and put his paws to his mouth. "Nguma, are you in there?" "Yes," said Nguma the python, who slithered out from the hole and wound himself around the tree and in among the roots. "Yes. Oh, I see you are going to market." "Not just to market. I am going to Tondo to be married. And Mbenga has consented to go with me, and I would like you too as one of my attendants." All the way to Tondo? Aren't there any nice girls around here? "Please." And Nguma said, "Of course I will come. That's what friends are for." And so they set off. It was Bowane and Mbenga and Nguma, the 3 of them, traveling to Tondo. Well, in a little while longer, just at the edge of the village, they came to a little hut, and in front was Ulu, the tortoise. He was mending his fishing net. "You are going to Tondo? Are you going to market?" he said. "I am going to be married," said Bowane. "Please come to the wedding, Ulu. I would love you to come." "Oh, I love weddings. They have cake," said Ulu, who was a little rounder than he needed to be. And so they set off. It was the 4 of them traveling to Tondo. Well, even in the cool of the forest, the temperature was rising as the day went on, and they all became thirsty, and they came to a large pool of cool, clear water, and they all started to drink except Bowane, who, I am forbidden by ritual to drink from there. I have to drink out of my bowl, and it is the one thing I didn't pack. So he asked his friends, will you wait for me while I go back to my hut and get my bowl? Of course we will wait, they said as they sat down. That's what friends are for. And so Bwane raced back to his hut, grabbed his bowl, and raced back. He was very thirsty. He filled bowl after bowl after bowl of cool water, and finally, when he was sated, he dried it off, put it on top of his pack, and the four of them set off. It was the four of them traveling to Tondo. Well, in a little while, they came to a huge date palm tree that was laden with nuts. And Benga flew to the top and looked, but none of them were ripe. But could we just wait? It looks like it'll only be a week or two, he asked his friends. You know how much we pigeons love those nuts, and my family eats them all before I ever get enough. Of course we will wait, said his friends. That's what friends are for. And so they sat around the bottom of the tree, and for a week, 8 days, 10 days, 14 days, and they were ripe. And Benga ate as much as he could, and then he flew to the ground a little heavier, and they set off, the four of them traveling to Tondo. Not much further, they came to a large field, a plain, and Nguma slithered off in the tall grass, and suddenly the head of a gazelle disappeared, and suddenly Nguma crawled toward them very slowly, slithering, because he had a large gazelle-shaped lump right in the middle of where his sleek form had been. Oh, friends, I can't travel very quickly now. We must wait for my lunch to digest. Of course we will wait. That's what friends are for. Oh, they waited a week or two or three, and finally he resumed his beautiful sleek shape, and they set off. It was Bwane and Nguma and Mbenga and Ulu, the four of them traveling to Tondo. They were almost to Tondo. They were just at the edge of the forest when they came to a giant tree that had fallen across the path. The brush was so thick there was no way around it. Well, not a problem for Mbenga, who flew over it. Not a problem for Nguma, who slithered over it. Not even a problem for Bwane, who leapt over it. But Ulu, the tortoise, he tried, and his friends pushed and they pulled, but there was no way. Oh, I'm so sorry, my friends, but if we wait for the log to rot, I will be able to break through, and then we can go to Tondo. Wait for it to rot, said Bwane, but I want to get married. Wait for it to rot, said his friends. I want to go to the wedding. Well, I waited for you, Bwane, when you got your bowl, and I waited for you, Mbenga, when you wanted the nuts to ripen, and I waited for you, Nguma, for the gazelle to go away, and oh, all right, his friend said, of course we will wait. That's what friends are for. And so they waited, and they waited, and they waited in a year, and two, and three, and every day Ulu would try, and eventually the log fell away, and there was great rejoicing in the group, and they set off, the four of them, right into the center of Tondo. Bwane marched up to the house of his beloved, and there she was in the front yard sweeping. Little kittens around her feet must be her little sisters, he thought. Beloved, I have come for our wedding. Where have you been? I waited as long as I could. I married someone else. But no, you couldn't have. I had to go back and get my bowl, and then Mbenga had to wait for the nuts to ripen, and then Nguma, we had to wait for his lunch to digest, and then Ulu, we waited for a tree to rot. At which she picked up her broom and began to beat him around the head and shoulders. You are a fool, a complete fool. And she began to chase him, and her kittens chased him. And then suddenly her huge husband began to chase him. And it was the four of them running, flying, streaking, waddling as fast as they could, all the way home from Tondo. And the moral of the story, as it was explained to me, was sometimes you have to say no to your friends.